editor of BioCycle, and on behalf of BioCycle Magazine, the Goldstein family, and our co-workers, we'd like to welcome you to BioCycle Global 2011. Our first speaker this morning, we're pleased to have with us Deborah Coons-Garcia, who is with Lilly Films up in Northern California. She really was one of the pioneers of the first documentary on local food and really introduced that topic to the world. And now Deborah's project is Symphony of the Soil, which is what she's going to talk about with us this morning, and we're going to get a little sneak preview.
Thank you. I made a film called The Future of Food that came out a few years ago, and I spent quite a lot of time traveling around the country showing it and speaking about the food system. That film was well received and it had a positive effect on a lot of people's lives. So I decided to make a film in the same realm, a film on soil. So as I got into it and became committed to it was when I realized how incredibly complex soil is. The solution is to follow Sir Albert Howard's law of return, as we saw in the film. When you take from the soil, you must give back through composting, cover crops, crop rotations, the basic practices of organic agriculture. And I'm sure you all know this, but in our agricultural system today, we've taken a beautiful system where the waste are given back to the soil, that feed the soil, and feeds the plant. We've separated that out. We've taken animals off the farm. We put them in capos. We put the plants on the field all by themselves with nothing to support them. And instead of one beautifully functioning system, we've created two problems. How do you get rid of the waste? How do you get fertility back into the soil? So I'd like to talk now about giving back to the soil. What are we giving back to the soil? Are we giving back what the soil gave us, like a leaf falling from a tree to fertilize the soil under the tree? Or are we giving something else as kind of a dirty trick? And this leads me to a very controversial issue that I would like to talk about now, which is the practice of using soil as a medium for getting rid of sewage sludge. And sewage sludge has been renamed biosolids. I have to be very clear, I am absolutely against putting sewage sludge on farmland. I am against renaming it biosolids. I am against advertising it as organic with a little o, because that got grandfathered in rather than big O, which are organic standards. And I am against giving it away and promoting it as compost, as the excuse that soil needs nutrients. This practice is contrary to the idea that soil is a complex, living organism which must be protected. I did accept this invitation to speak because I was told that this is an organization which promotes composting and recycling, which it does, and which I'm for. Back in the late 90s, along with many other citizens, I signed a petition to keep sewage sludge out of organic agriculture. We were successful in that endeavor. Yet now I've found out, because I was invited to speak here, that more and more we are using sewage sludge on our farmland. There's been a PR campaign to relabel sewage sludge as biosolids and to cover up what's being put on farmland. And I think the citizens have a right to know this. There's been a campaign to conflate traditional organic composting, as we saw in the film, and adding sewage sludge to compost as if it's the same thing. It's not. The fact that the EPA has essentially turned a blind eye to the dangers of these practices does not surprise me. They also promote genetically engineered crops as substantially equivalent to regular crops, which they are not. I know how the revolving door works in Washington. I worked with one yesterday. I've been around the block. I know how these things work, but we have to speak out when we feel strongly about something, which I do. I also know that the issue of what to do with our waste is a very complicated and serious one, and I applaud all of you that are grappling with that important issue. But studies have proven that there are still chemicals in this sludge when it is spread on fields. There have been lawsuits where victims of these practices have been vindicated. There have been illnesses. There have been citizens groups fighting it against the stuff being put in their communities. The dangerous chemicals in this sludge have not been removed. Although each municipality is different, and I know people are trying to, the fact is it's still in there. Each treatment plant produces a different blend of wastes, and there is all too often toxic material in them. Over 40% of the 55 million tons of sewage sludge produced every year is brought on agricultural land. According to most governments, federal, state, and municipal, this is fine. How convenient for them. How lucrative for the corporations who are paid with our tax dollars to relieve them of this stuff, and then who are paid for selling it. But what about citizens who are eating food out of this land, children playing it, neighbors breathing it? I think it's horrible. This is one of the battles, the many battles we face as citizens. Because here I identify with the citizens, not the corporations. Turning agricultural land into a toxic waste dump, I think, is a big mistake. We need a more thoughtful and careful way of treating soil in general. Human waste, liquid waste, night soil should be separated out, and it's possible that once we figure out how to get all the chemical pharmaceuticals out, that will be absolutely necessary to put back on the soil. Industrial and other chemical waste should not be labeled compost and given away. Let me talk about San Francisco, the city where I've lived outside of for 37 years. As you've seen in the film, San Francisco has an excellent program to recycle green waste and restaurant waste into compost, which even organic farmers use. San Francisco also has a program to give away its sewage sludge in bags, had a program calling them biosolids and throwing the term organic around. Thanks to the work of some dedicated activists from the Center for Food Safety, the Organic Consumers Association, and Consumers Union, this program was halted. That was the right thing to do. As a person who eats in the Bay Area, I was against it. Now, I have supported the work of those organizations. They've supported me. I've invited people from those organizations to speak with me on panels when I show my work. I count some of them, excuse me, as valued personal friends. These groups have done more to ensure the safety of our food supply than any people I know. And now, within the past few weeks, Sally Brown, who's giving the keynote right after me, and who is a vehement promoter of using sewage sludge to grow food, has called them eco-terrorists, exactly in the magazine that's being given away today. This was so shocking and frankly repulsive to me that I considered canceling my appearance here. But I am not, well, fine. I'm not a no-show type, and I'm drawing the line, and I think that's one that Sally Brown has already fallen over. I was kind of shocked to find that BioCycle would print such a defamatory article. To my mind, anyone who makes a statement like that has lost scientific credibility. These people are not even in the same universe with the word terrorism. So, I'm being pulled off. Thank you very much. As I say, I hope you enjoyed my film and see you.
Well, that was an interesting surprise. Very much appreciate you. I want to just say that in 1976, my father, who worked at, was one of the founding editors of Organic Gardening and Farming magazine, wrote a very good book called Sensible Sludge. And that is the dialogue that we like to have. And so I very much appreciate the film. We wish that all the best. Anyway, so
I wanted to say thank you very much for the invitation to talk here, and I also have to say that writing the column that I do in BioCycle and have for a couple of years now is one of the favorite parts of my job. And you will see biosolids throughout this hall. And this guy, let me tell you, he got off this pickup truck and he had more hair on his back than he had when he started. It was because of that biosolids compost, bringing that hair on. Every year at King County, we have a garden at the wastewater treatment plant and have a lunch celebrating the harvest at the wastewater treatment plant. And this is the buffet and the flowers grown at the harvest. And you can get an invitation to lunch if you play your cards right.